And we're back. Well, it's that time for Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Two very different Wonder Woman plot lines in two very different times.
Yeah, I do like it. And
Yeah.
when we get to 3 and when we get to 4, I do like the alternating here in the present, here in the past. And I'm liking that. It's a different... It's nice to have kind of going from both, and maybe they'll meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. It's almost sort of like reading two different comics.
Yes.
And then, but it's still the same title. Took me a little while to get used to, but it's cool.
It is. With that, Wonder Woman number 3, The Lies Part 2. Wonder Woman strikes a truce with Cheetah. Cheetah will help her find Thasmaskara, and Wonder Woman will help her kill Urza Taga, thereby lifting her curse. Wonder Woman and Cheetah are pursued by the Buddha, which are worshippers of Urza Taga. Steve Trevor and his company go to find the captured children. They find the children are being held by Cadulo. Steve and his troops are captured by Cadulo, who is working for Urza Taga.
We sort of get the origin story for the Cheetah this time again. That she originally got her powers from the plant god Urza Taga, who in my opinion sort of looks like a demonic swamp thing, which I saw him at the end like, okay, that's a really scary thing, the swamp thing. But I mean, this sort of harkens back to the old origin. Cheetah's been an enemy of Wonder Woman for a long time. She tried to manipulate her as a friend. She ended up being a villain. Can Wonder Woman trust Cheetah this time? I mean, she seems pretty invaluable. I mean, they seem to have common goals. She wants to kill Urza Taga to end her curse. Do you think, is there any chance she's going to turn on Wonder Woman?
I don't know. From reading this characterization of her, she seems to be very defeated and very hurt. Mm-hmm. And as much as she's wild with this curse that's been put upon her, she looks like she's really hurting.
Yeah.
And Diana is really you're still my friend, always have been, and we'll do what we can. If you can help me find my path, I'll help you find your path. So maybe this is a tale about redemption.
Yeah. And it seems like Diana and Barbara have a really close bond.
Yes.
I mean, or one that Diana's trying to reestablish with her. So, I think if she can keep Cheetah under control, because, Cheetah's animalistic side,
yes,
which I really liked how they did that with how her facial features change. They kind of get a little more animalistic.
Yes.
Which I really, really enjoyed with that. But I think, it seems kind of like if Diana can just keep Barbara's animal side in check,
right,
they could probably do pretty good with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did seem... What did she say? That there was a curse, that she had the flesh-eating curse put upon her by Urza Taga.
Yeah.
And therefore she's always needs to eat flesh and meat. And she just is just so broken down. Even when she goes in animalistic, she just hates herself for it. So that will be interesting.
Yep.
If she can be redeemed and if she can help Wonder Woman. And but Wonder Woman's still not sure about her own godhood.
Yeah. And Cheetah makes an interesting comment when early on in this is Wonder Woman mentions the Buddha who are chasing them, these hyena guys, which I looked up, and they're an Ethiopian folk monster, sort of basically like werewolves, but with hyena.
They did look like werewolves.
They're just basically people who can turn into hyena type creatures.
Yes.
And she mentions that Cheetah thinks the Buddha view her as a god. And she says, well, this must mean there are two gods here now, because Diana's here. And Diana says, well, I'm not so sure about that. And Cheetah says, that's not what I heard.
Yep.
So it's sort of like, does Cheetah know something about her godhood? I mean, her, maybe her questioning her origins?
Right.
Because she seems in a pretty remote place. It doesn't seem like information would get to her. I mean, could she have heard something through Urza Taga? Or is that just her not knowing?
Right.
And still thinking of Diana as a goddess?
We'll find out, maybe. Yeah. Steve Trevor's storyline, we finds out he goes looking for the children. They find this jungle that's not on the map, that's been nowhere, no one knows about it. They find out that Colonel Cadulo is working with Urza Taga. So that was kind of interesting. So those two storylines with Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor that seem to be separate storylines in this part of the issue and every other issue seem like they're going to converge.
Yep, I think from issue 1, we kind of knew they were in roughly the same region, but because Etta Candy asked, "What's she doing there?"
Yes.
But now it's finally coming to a head. And one of the things I really enjoyed was Steve's company when they made it to that jungle, saying, "Are you guys seeing this?" And they're going around checking, like, yes.
They're looking at their phones. They're looking GPS. There's nothing on this on the map.
Yeah.
How is this here? Well, it's here.
Yeah. Like, well, here we go. Press ahead.
The evil Swamp Thing's lair.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has theme music.
I don't know. Yeah. I did enjoy when they go in. The vines close behind them. It's like, okay, that's classic horror movie. This isn't going to end well type thing. Of course, they're all captured in the end. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how does Steve and Diana react when they see one another, because we don't know from the all the flashback issues, the even numbered issues, how does that end? What note do they end that on? So,
and I think it's implied that they haven't seen on this story arc, they haven't seen each other in quite some time.
Yeah, that's what Steve said in the first issue, that he hadn't been in contact with her. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Wonder Woman number 4, Year 1, Part 2. Steve Trevor is nursed back to health. He was the only one that survived the crash. The Amazons try to learn all they can about these strange visitors to their island. Diana starts to bond with Steve. After looking over the wreckage, the Amazons conclude that the men were sent by the gods for a purpose. The Queen orders a tournament to crown an Amazonian champion who will journey with Steve back to the realm of men. Diana wins the tournament.
Well, in this issue, we get to see the Amazons trying to figure out what to do with Steve and his men. Why are they there? How did they get there? And one of the things that was really interesting to me is when, the Amazon, the high-ranking Amazons are having their little meeting.
Yes.
Castalia, who sort of, I guess you'd call the religious...
The priestess?
The religious side of the Amazons, says that, the only way that Steve and his guys could have made it in is because the gods allowed it. And she also brings up the snake bite Diana gets in Wonder Woman number 2. And she uses the phrase, "those were earned at the gate." So it makes it sound like there's something else out there.
Yes.
Hippolyta mentions Ares, that Ares might be in the world of men. They might need to go send someone out. So it sounds like there's a culprit behind all this that's going on.
Yeah, none of this has happened by chance. So they're very looking at the signs, looking everything. Everything was there for a purpose. But where was Steve's plane heading in the first place? I just kind of wonder that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Because, they've always, I think, mentioned that Themyscira is somewhere in the Mediterranean. So, maybe he could have been heading for the Middle East somewhere.
Right.
Maybe, but it seemed like it was also shot down. So maybe it was coming from somewhere else. Maybe it's coming from the Middle East. Who knows? I don't know.
One thing I liked about this flashback and learning in this Year 1 is just the level of technology and science that the Amazons possess.
Yeah, this really helps to kind of solidify where they are in the spectrum, because we only get to see them in flashbacks really in the classic issues. And I really enjoyed that. They're so meticulous with all this.
Yes.
They've cataloged all the equipment. They have all the bullets.
Yes.
All the rifles lined up, and they spend a lot of time on the firearms. And one of the things I really enjoyed is Hippolyta looking at, one of the, the patches from their uniforms with the eagle and Poseidon's trident. She can use the heraldry to ascertain their purpose. The eagle has its head down. They're not going to make war. They're just fighting war. And that was really fascinating, that this culture that's so ancient compared to the modern world can still basically figure out what's going on.
Yep. Yeah, there was modern in their own way. It's almost like they chose not to go modern, but what is working for them, they've refined it.
Yeah.
What I thought cool was when they ordered the tournament, and they were making the, I guess if you want to call it the uniform of their champion, they modeled it after all the pieces that they had found in the wreckage. They had designed it, looked at it, studied it, and made it to fit what they've considered appropriate for their champion to go back to that world.
Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of neat, too, because that uniform is the same one Diana switches to in Wonder Woman #1. So it's her new original look.
Yes.
Which makes my head hurt just saying
New
that.
classic, modern,
and
retro look.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, her new first appearance look. And then one of the things I really like, too, was, the final challenge of the tournament is Hippolyta with the pistol.
Yes.
And she wants, the 3 possible candidates to parry her shot.
Yeah,
that
cool.
That was really cool, because to me, that was like, she's making sure they're, prior to that, they were fighting each other, they were doing contests, now they have to deal with man's world, and that's firearms. And, it's implied that Diana's the only one who successfully parried it. I mean, you mentioned before, maybe she was intentionally firing in ways that the other 2 Amazons were hit. Because, I mean, one of the bullets, ricocheted inward, hit her in the abdomen. One got hit in the shoulder. But we don't get to see Diana's parry. It switches from there to her being the champion.
That's true. And with the champion, over the years there's been different tellings of Wonder Woman's origin, and this one has taken a different take on it. I was always, when I watched cartoons and I read Wonder Woman, her mother forbid her from entering the tournament, so Diana had to sneak into the tournament. This time, she's allowed to enter the tournament, and her mother and her mother's, if you want to call it contingent, they're pretty sure she's going to win the tournament, but she hopes she doesn't.
Yeah.
But they know, more than likely, Diana's going to win the tournament. I don't want her to win it, but I'm not going to tell her not to compete. So it's a different kind of dynamic between being forbidden and sneaking into, I don't want you to compete, but I know you're going to compete and you're probably going to win.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it sets up a very different relationship between Diana and Hippolyta. And I think it also does kind of save Diana the hassle of trying to compete under a mask.
Yep.
I mean, on an island full of women, which can't have that many women on it, how could you possibly be fooled by that?
Right.
I mean, it seems like that would stand out. You'd see the hair, you'd see... I mean, they'd have to be personally trained by one another. You'd see how they're fighting, how they're swinging the sword. You'd think Hippolyta or Philippus would sit up there and say, "Oh, look, that's Diana."
Exactly.
In a mask. Get her out of here. But no, I mean, and it does still make Hippolyta concerned. She's still very concerned about her safety. She doesn't really want Diana to go out.
I have to apologize right now for getting beeped. I thought I turned my phone off. Evidently, I didn't. I apologize. You're going to have to throw me in the tournament and get beat. Anyway.
Yeah. And we can't conclude this without talking about the Invisible Jet.
Yeah, I wish I went invisible when I just got beeped. Anyway, the Invisible Jet was cool. Then you started putting that back, and I was, Invisible Jet, an actual jet.
Yeah. Well, in most of the Wonder Woman conversations I've had over the years, either the Invisible Jet is something you either love or you absolutely hate the concept of it.
Yep.
And I mean, I like it. I think it's cool. It separates Diana. But, I mean, originally, it was just a jet that was invisible. It didn't really even have a backstory to my knowledge. It was just there. The New 52 used it as, it was a gift from an alien, and it could shapeshift into all these, like it could be a tank, like an invisible tank. I think it was like an invisible disc originally, and that confused the crap out of me. And then, of course, for a while she could fly. She didn't even need it. But now it's back, and it's Steve's jet, and it's been covered in invisible, whatever
panels,
that invisible...
like reflecting light panels.
Yeah, whatever those tiles are.
That was cool. I like that when you're talking about technology and their level of sophistication. That was pretty sophisticated right there, that they blended their science and their magic together
Yeah.
to create that. That was cool. Just, I like how everything is taken back to the classic lineage, the classic history, but they're modernizing it in a way, they're bringing it to the present in a way that respects what they've built through the years.
Yep. And it also plausibly explains why a island of Amazons that doesn't have that level of technology to build a jet has a jet.
Yep.
It's not their jet. It's a
Right.
jet they found and just, retrofitted with their invisible panels. And presumably that's to get Steve and Diana back,
Yes.
without having to deal with too much notice. So I think it makes sense, finally.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
What do you feel this whole Wonder Woman storyline, this year one and the lies, they're making sense. And Wonder Woman, these titles are some of very good reading because every other week you're getting a different take on not a take, I guess you're going to get a definitive storyline for Wonder Woman.
Yeah. I think it beats doing like a standalone, like a mini series or even a one shot just to cover an origin story. It gives them more time to work out the depth of where all this goes, and it's really giving us a lot more plot line than a lot of other characters.
Yes.
I mean, this is a lot of time they're covering, so this should make for a very interesting couple of stories, really.
Exactly. And with that, that's our wrap up of all these issues of comic books. I enjoyed everything I've read this time, except All-Star Batman 1, but let's see what happens there, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and I enjoyed them all, including All-Star Batman 1, with the exception of Gordon's weird full beard thing. That just, no. That's going to be on par with Tom's opinion of the collars in the New 52.
Yeah, collars in red Nightwing outfit.
Yeah, and me in New 52 Purple Beast Boy. No, not going to happen. No.
Well, if there's any other titles that you want us to talk about or any other comics you want us to discuss and overview, drop us a line at Delve Into the Void's Facebook and YouTube site. In the meantime, I'm Tom Morris.
And I'm Josh Holderbaum.
And we'll see you next time on Comic Book Cove.